the Crimea annexation, Ukrainian banks still do not recognize the IDPs from Crimea as residents. Anatoliy Zasoba, chairman of the board of NGO Crimean Diaspora. Anatoliy, have the floor. Good afternoon, dear friends, esteemed colleagues, IDPs. Topic of our today's press briefing is dedicated to the issue associated with the systematic violation of economic rights of the IDPs, first and foremost those who come from the Crimea, which is associated with the fact that our constitutional right is not being violated for the full-fledged bank servicing of the IDPs from the Crimea. You know the prehistory associated with the law on the free trade commercial zone in Crimea, due to which the citizens of Ukraine with the Crimean residents are considered to be non-residents after the law which was adopted. There was a resolution of the National Bank of Ukraine 699, according to which the conventional status of non-resident is fixed for the people of the Crimean residency or residence, and this is a kind of discriminational fact which is available in the legal framework of Ukraine today. Nevertheless, one of the tasks with Crimean Diaspora was to at least partially restore the right of the Crimean people for the bank servicing. And first of all, we were taking care of the Crimean IDPs, and according to the cooperation which we had with the National Bank of Ukraine, we managed to agree upon the resolution 810, according to which the IDPs from the Crimea, in other words, the persons who used to live in the Crimea with a certificate of IDPs, received anyway, they could restore their status as residents, and they have the complete right or full right to the banking service. And I agree with our lawyers that this does not resolve the problem. We're still trying to let's say restore 100% of the rights to the banking services. But at least the IDPs from the Crimea now received the right for to be served by the banks, and at least they enjoy the possibility to be serviced by the banks. And this actually provides some opportunities for the people who were forced to leave their place of residence, come to some other to the Iranian part of Ukraine, and who've been residing here for a long time because they already got the proposals to leave their places of work, and they start to they wanted to fire because the employers do not want non-residents to give them a chance to work because they cannot even pay their salary to such people. So at least for the IDPs from the Crimea, they have this opportunity. But our today's press briefing dedicated to another aspect associated with the violation of the right to bank servicing for the Crimean residents. I'm talking about what happened on March 17th, 2014. I remember that our family on the 15th of this March, we had to leave immediately the Crimean Peninsula. And the 17th, there was the day of the notorious so-called referendum on Sunday. And the next day, none of the Crimean former Crimean residents could not actually use their plastic card or any other services provided by the private bank and many other banks, which actually blocked their accounts. This happened on March 17th, on Monday of 2014, and this was the beginning of our lengthy struggle or fight, which still goes on, despite the fact some decision has been passed. We are still forced 2 years after the beginning of those events, when we had the first signs of violation of our constitutional rights. We still continue to talk about that. We continue to actualize those problems because they're still on the agenda. This is going to be dealt with in more details. Our IDPs from the Crimea, who for 2 years now fight for their rights, specifically the private bank. They have the unique experience of fighting for their right to be served by the banks, and they're going to give you more details. And I'm going to give the floor to them. The first to speak is Yuri Ilyin, IDP from the city of Sevastopol, who cannot actually receive his deposit in private bank since March 2014. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I was born and grew in the city of Kiev, but for 35 years I worked in the city of Sevastopol. I'm a researcher, I'm an oceanologist. Back in 2014, together with my family, I moved to my native city of Kiev, and I actually relied on the fact that I would be able to buy some apartment here or some housing here, because several years ago I was lucky to sell, which I inherited, part of the apartment which I inherited from my deceased parents. So I actually was counting on my deposit in the private bank, which I actually made immediately after I sold the apartment. So paid cash in Kiev, but then in Sevastopol, I actually documented this money as a deposit, and I actually relied upon the opportunity to be given to me to use this money to improve my housing conditions. I addressed several offices, private bank, and I present all the necessary documents, but I met with a denial, with a refusal. And they said that in the private bank they lost a lot of money at the Crimea. That's why this bank cannot satisfy the needs of their clients. You know, this was kind of a lame excuse. Everybody knows that the bank risks have to be insured against robbing or some acts of God or whatever. So there are no conditions, no reasons for them just to violate the rights of their clients. No, not only not to pay the interest, but not to pay the body of the deposits. So we were lucky to sell our apartment in Sevastopol, and we hope that we will be able to resolve our housing problem here. But this was the last money we could rely upon, the whole of my family. We are pensioners and also not very highly paid employees. That's why this money we badly needed for our life here in Kiev. But for 2 years now, the problem has not been resolved, and that's why we do appreciate the Crimean Diaspora organization, their leaders, for the fact that they try to help us and raise this problem again, and somehow to actualize this issue. I also would like to add to what I've said already, that despite this attitude on the part of the private bank, we have been and still are, I would put it this way, we still remain to be the client of this bank. We trusted to this bank. We still continue to trust them. We recognize that this is a very powerful bank with a very good infrastructure, and they create very convenient conditions to deal with them through the electronic banking systems. Even our pension cards, we try to use here. Actually, our pensions we transferred here, and we get the pensions through the private bank. But this doesn't help us because in case of our deposits, nobody wants to listen to us and or meet us halfway at least. I believe that this bank had to somehow think about their reputation or their image. They have to take care of to support their renommee for the people to more customers to join them. To attract more customers. I believe that the positive another bank, their attitude to their clients. I'm talking about the Province Bank. In May last year, they did everything possible so that the deposits of their clients be paid out before actually to eliminate their office in the Crimea. They called us and they recommended to take the money. They said just take the money and do with your money whatever you wish to do. This is a positive example. I believe that such a bank has more grounds to position themselves as the organization which has a very good attitude towards their clients. Maybe this is not a very typical situation with associated with my family. There are more typical ones. People until now do not have any opportunity to live here a full-fledged life, or to resolve 100% of their housing conditions. Many of those approach or they lodge their suits to the court, and some people had a very positive court rulings, but anyway, they cannot return their deposits, at least to have them unblocked, because this is our judicial system, our let's say executive power that how they work. I believe we have to raise this issue before the National Bank and other officials on who are instrumental in bringing this very simple, in my opinion, case to bring everything to order. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was Yuri Lin, IDP from Sevastopol. He told us his story. And also there is Vladimir Plutalo with us. He's IDP from Kerch. His money is also in private bank. At the moment, he's struggling for his money in the court. Good afternoon. Should I tell my story? Yes, please. I was living in Kyiv from 2000. Then in 2011, I went to Kerch. I buried my parents. I put all my money to private bank. In 2013, I returned, and still I can't get my money. So in 1917, Red bad SS took property from my ancestor in Rostov region. My ancestor in Crimea on mother's line also were profitable. And at the same time, their property was taken from them. And now the practice is the same. They had the power and they take the last money from us. And now there are gossips, the payment of our deposits is late, and there are constant gossips that private bank can be bankrupt. It's not profitable for them to give us our money. That's all that I could tell you. And I can add that really, we are struggling with these people for 2 years already to restore their constitutional right for the property, for the money in this bank. Also, we got more than 1,000 appeals to Crimea Diaspora about the breach of rights for bank servicing. It was about different services from contemporary banks. I think some of you remember the struggle for leasing cars. It was a story with the same bank, with private bank. The bank was arresting the cars, not depending on how prosperous was the owner of the car. I'm talking about the cars of Crimea. The cars were just arrested in all the cities of Ukraine, even if the person was paying his credit. We should fight together with the National Bank of Ukraine. We should go to Dnipropetrovsk to have talks to agree to agree the return of these cars to people, to Crimean IDPs, and these cars were their property. The people are paying for these cars. And at the time of Mr. Kubi, after the Crimean events, it is the first head of the National Bank. We also agreed credit vacations for IDPs. The people had possibility to send a letter to the management of bank, and there was an order from the head of the National Bank to Ukraine, to commercial banks, to give these vacations to the people, not to give them fees during this credit vacation till the person will restore his financial state on the territory of Ukraine. I think you remember our rallies next to National Bank of Ukraine during Mrs. Gontarev as well. I participated in some campaigns myself. We also had round tables, other kind of negotiations to restore our rights. I should mention also that for some people, the issue was solved in normal way, or some issues were solved in negative way. It was with VAB Bank, for example. It was bankrupt and people couldn't get their money from this bank. And now it would be very interesting for you to hear one more story of Crimean IDPs who are fighting in the courts for their constitutional rights. Ruslan Khalilov, IDP from Crimea, he won courts of all instances, but he can't get even the decision of the court. And today his lawyer is with us, and she will tell you the details of this case. Good afternoon, everybody. Savchenko Yulia Viktorovna. Notwithstanding the fact Privat Bank is the biggest bank of Ukraine and one of the key players in the banking industry of Ukraine, really they keep money of IDPs for indefinite period of time. Our situation is specific because we are not talking about deposit. We are talking about not made SWIFT. SWIFT is the international transfer of money. And here there is a breach of international law, except for the law of Ukraine. And we are fighting for this case for 2 years already. We had 3 instances already. Shevchenkivsky District Court appeal, cassation. We had the decisions of the court. Confirming that these courts made decisions according to legislation of Ukraine. We have also executive list. But executive body is not in a hurry with this case. And Privat Bank voluntarily didn't follow the court decision, and now we are talking about forced execution of the court decision. The case was in the court for more than 1.5 years. My client came from Crimea, and all this time at his own money, he should be in Kiev. The decision of the courts of all instances rejected compensation of his staying in Kiev. At the moment, we are appealing the action of the state officials because now they are delaying with the court decision. We got letter dated on 16th of June 2015, and many times during court we gave requests to hurry up with this case. All of them were ignored. So we can say that notwithstanding our victory in all instances, and really we know that the judicial branch of power of Ukraine supports us in our case, we can't get this money. The amount is $40,000. From one side, this amount is not big, but from other side, it would give the right to Ruslan Khalilov to live normally in Kiev. The summary is, notwithstanding the 2 years from Crimea occupation, Privatbank is not in a hurry to solve the problems of his clients. And I can agree with the previous speakers that this bank maybe really doesn't care his reputation in his treatment Crimean IDPs. Thank you. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. As you can see, even trials can't help. There is no result. And we have many cases like this one, because we have a lot of attempt to have a correspondence, to have these cases solved in trials. We have a lot of stories from the life of Crimean IDPs. Who knows for sure how Privatbank is treating them. And also in 2014, there was such an active position, and partially we could solve this issue with some categories of Crimean IDPs till the end of 2014. With those who were happy with this decision, who were ready for 5-year restructurization, decrease of percentage, not payment of the interest, but it's also the bridge. I'm not the lawyer, but I understand that to fight, we should fight for the right of people, for their own money, as activists, as volunteers, as people with active life position, not depending on the amounts, not depending on the number of people suffering now. Even if one person has this problem, we should fight for his right to restore bank servicing. But we have hundreds of these people for now. I would like to point out your attention. Hundreds of people are suffering from this problem now all over the country. You all know that IDPs from Crimea are living in different regions of Ukraine now. And really, we have requests from IDPs for all over the countries, and of course they can't present at today's press briefing or at rallies next to the National Bank of Ukraine. But at least we have the stories of these people who keep on fighting. And that is not action from the side of the authorities, and the passive position of Mrs. Gontarev, who doesn't do anything with this situation with Privatbank. And also it's the problem of other banks. If they're bankrupt, people can't get their money, and this money is just lost. We need to keep on fighting for this aim. Our lawyers, together with the activists of Initiative Group, prepared appeal to Mrs. Gontarev, the head of National Bank of Ukraine, to return to the agenda issue about the breach of constitutional rights of IDPs from Crimea, who need their funds to start new life on the territory of Ukraine. And please believe, people can have 10,000 hryvnia in the accounts. People can have more. There can be pensioners, single moms, disabled people who trusted their money to Privatbank, to other banks, but now they have no access to their own funds. We require to stop the discrimination as soon as possible. We ask National Bank of Ukraine to see this problem. Here you can see the links and references to the laws and constitution of Ukraine, why it is a breach. People today will sign this appeal, and today after press briefing they will bring it to the National Bank of Ukraine. That is a collective letter. It will be published on our website. Thank you, and I'm ready for your questions if you have any. We have time just for one question. If there are no questions or clarifications, thank you very much, Anatoly. We finish our press conference, and good luck, and see you next time.